September 23rd, 2022, long day's journey into night as we have 2 hours of SmackDown, 2 hours of Rampage. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Alfred Konuwa. Shout out to Issa. Hope she's doing well in Puerto Rico. The storm's there. Hopefully she'll be back next week. But we got some wrestling to talk about tonight. We got some news. I've been pulling all sorts of extra time this week, Alfred, between the 2 hour Rampage tonight. I covered Dynamite the other night on this very podcast with Raj Giri and Jimmy Corderas. Good times.
Very eventful episode. That's pretty much their biggest show of the year you got to cover.
Yeah, it was good. I was very sports entertained. But before we dive into everything, what is going on in the news?
Yes, and stay safe, Demon Issa out there in Puerto Rico. And speaking of Demon, Glenn, the Bray Wyatt teases were all over social media, of course, this week on WWE programming. They've been doing this guerrilla marketing scheme to get you to use your QR code to figure out all these puzzles. It did say 9/23, so a lot of speculation that Bray Wyatt might be on the show in Utah tonight. That was not the case. We did not get a Bray Wyatt return, but what we did get is another QR code. It led you to another clue. It was a video game. Reminded me very much of the final level of Super Mario Brothers, where you had to jump over the fireballs to get to King Koopa. It was kind of like that, but the rabbit version, where it was a spiral, and then he went into a door, and there was a graphic that read patricide. Patricide, of course, being when one person kills their father, and a lot of people are bringing up the fact that Bray Wyatt, in one of his first promos, might have been his first promo ever in that character in developmental, was mentioning that he did kill his father in canon. And then, of course, there were coordinates. And if you Googled the coordinates, they led you to Daly's place in Jacksonville, which is interesting. No, I'm only kidding. The coordinates led you to Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, site of Monday's Raw. They're already selling White Rabbit merchandise. They played the Jefferson Airplane song during commercial again. Are you excited for what looks to be Bray Wyatt's return? And did you expect it tonight, Glenn?
Well, first off, we can't have him in Utah. It's a very religious state. Bray, it just would have caused an uproar. There might have been a church involved.
Not fans of the occult.
Yeah, not really there. So Bray couldn't be in Utah, but Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, it is still the home, I believe, to the world's largest mall, or North America's largest mall. It has a theme park, it has a hotel, and I think the Edmonton Oilers practice in a rink there. What shenanigans? Bray Wyatt in a mall. It will be like a demonic mall rats. I am here for it.
Yeah, and I don't expect to see him in Edmonton either. I think these are all just going to be Raw and SmackDown commercials until we finally get to Extreme Rules. And I think he's going to interfere in the fight pit, because if you've seen the Extreme Rules graphics, there is a lantern behind Matt Riddle when it was a Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins poster. So I'm guessing he's going to attack Riddle. It'd be wild if he went after Rollins and Rollins had to essentially lose to somebody else for a long period of time. I just don't see them putting Rollins in that situation again. It seems like they're just heating him back up. So I see him getting involved with Riddle. And if that happens, honestly, as much as I'm excited to see Bray Wyatt, I'd be very nervous if I'm Riddle having to work with The Fiend, because we saw him ruin many a baby faces the last time around.
It will be Riddle versus Enigma versus Puzzle versus Rhombus.
It's a bunch of clues. That's all it's going to be.
Yes. What else is going on in the news?
We have an update on Malakai Black, according to David Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter. Looks like Malakai Black has indeed requested his release from AEW. He is all but gone, and there is a non-compete period. We don't know how long that was. There was talk that potentially Tony Khan could freeze him for the rest of his contract. I do not think that would hold up in court, but it looks like they've reached an agreement that Malakai Black indeed does get to leave his AEW contract as long as he stays away from WWE for a certain amount of time. But at the same time, I am expecting Malakai Black or Aleister Black back in WWE, and there has been talk of other AEW stars potentially requesting their release. There was a fun story about Bobby Fish trying to get the Undisputed Era back together, and that didn't seem to work out for him. But it looks like Malakai Black is gone.
Bobby said, I'm leaving. Everybody come with me.
Let's go, guys. Last one, there's a rotten egg. Where did they go? Where did everybody go? What the hell?
Yeah. Wow. It is interesting. It is interesting that the tide turning that direction.
You know? Yeah. And I think we've been hearing about Malakai Black being frustrated with AEW. Of course, there were some personal problems, some mental health problems that he is upset got out. And it just looks like those two sides need to go their separate ways. I just think they captured lightning in a bottle and they really let it go. And I just don't think there's a way of putting that back in. I think a lot of that was Cody. Maybe he sees Cody in WWE and he figures, hey, man, not only will they treat me better because I'm an AEW defect from WWE, they're also probably maybe going to put me with Cody and I could reinvigorate my career.
It would be
but that's
interesting.
months down. Who knows how long it's going to be before we see Malakai? I don't know how long he could have signed that non-compete. Could be 6 months, could be a year, but I don't know.
Yes, we shall see.
We also have an update on Generation X. They're going to have a reunion. Shawn Michaels and Triple H, the head bookers of WWE and NXT, will be in the same building on Raw October 10th in the Barclays Center. So we're getting a DX reunion. You excited about that, Glenn?
These guys reunite more than like Kiss the Monkeys and Motley Crue combined.
Yeah, they're getting a reunion tour. They're going to go out there and play the hits.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like your high school reunion, how it's like first like, 10-year reunion, then 20-year reunion. Like, now we can wait a while. Now we don't have to do this every 5 years. Let's pace it out a little bit, you know?
Do you think because DX is such an inside baseball type, edgy type humor that they're going to reference the fact that Triple H is in power now, Shawn Michaels is down in NXT? Yeah. It's going to be a lot of ha-ha there.
But here's the question. If it doesn't involve Billy Gunn, it's nowhere near as interesting.
Yes, because Daddy Ass is over in AEW, but they will have the Road Dogg there. Maybe they make jokes about how he tried to beg Tony Khan for a job.
It's all people that work for WWE. I mean, like, so they'll get X-Pac back, but I don't know, without Billy Gunn, it's just not.
I mean, come on. Billy Gunn is essentially the Lance Bass of the Generation X. Not that he's not a useful piece, but you could do an in-sync reunion without Lance Bass. Bye, bye, bye still sounds the same without him, even though he did offer a good baritone to the song.
Really? See, I would be disappointed if I'm trying to think who I could be okay with not being in the. I mean, I'm surprised that hasn't happened without JT. I mean, Take That got back together without Robbie Williams in the UK, and they still like sell out stadiums without their most famous member. So I think that it's a good. But you got to think, if you work at WWE, like if you're just there on the right day, I'm sure people every time they see Triple H and HBK together or Road Dogg, it's like, what is this, a DX reunion? Like that's got to be said every single time they're in the same building together.
It's like their version of working hard or hardly working.
Yes, absolutely.
I will say this. They did go into the Hall of Fame, and Billy Gunn was part of that. Yeah. Famously, Triple H lashed out at him and said that he was going to buy the pissant company of AEW, or Vince McMahon was going to. And Billy Gunn was part of AEW when he went into the Hall of Fame with the Generation X. So if they want Daddy Ass, they can get him, maybe. I don't know. Tony Khan does seem pretty upset with WWE. I believe we have a drop dedicated to it.
Yes, which I didn't load tonight.
Yes, he's not going to take this effing shit, everybody.
Yes, Stellar Justin Lopez $4.99 saying, you know what, it makes sense that Bray targets Riddle because Orton killed off the Fiend, and we know Riddle is Randy's bro.
Oh man, you see, that's why Stellar Justin Lopez books the territory. Me and Justin text sometimes when we book the territory better than anybody could, and that's another good idea. I think that'd be a good idea to put him with Riddle. I just feel for Rollins. I think Rollins deserves to come up now. He deserves to start winning these big matches. We've talked on this podcast about how he hadn't won a big match on pay-per-view in like over a year in terms of pinfall. So it's good to see him start winning, and Riddle being paired with the Fiend does make sense if we're picking up where he left off with Randy Orton. It could be Revenge Tour. And keep an eye on Alexa Bliss, who they're starting to do some storyline where she doesn't have a sense of urgency. She isn't herself, and the lights did turn off during her match.
There you go. Before we continue with the news, how was Las Vegas?
Oh, Las Vegas was lit. Me and my buddies hung out for a one-nighter, had too much fun. I was hung over the entire next day. Gambled, played roulette, won a couple $100, gave it all back, and had an overall good time. The Applebee's in Vegas was also especially lit.
I took stock of my life last night because my wife was out of town and left me alone in Las Vegas for 5 days and 4 nights. 2 hours before my wife comes home, what am I doing? Kicking the strippers out, cleaning up the pornography, washing the debauchery off me. No, you know what I'm doing? Cleaning the house to make it look like I've lived like a functional human being while she was gone. Like I'm a functional adult. You know?
It probably looks better than it did when she left.
Oh yeah, she says like the house is way cleaner than it was when I left, and I was like, if you would have seen it when you were gone, you would have been like, what is going on here? Does someone live here? What is happening? Like I was doing things like just taking dishes out of the dishwasher that I needed, and then when I had to wash more dishes, just running the dishwasher again every time. Like I couldn't be bothered to unload the whole thing, you know?
When my parents, one time they left and they came back and the house was cleaner than it usually is, and they said, okay, how hard did you party? Who did you have over here? They became immediately suspicious of me.
Yeah. Yeah. What else is going on in the news?
Couple more news stories. We just did the D-Generation X story, and of course, Saraya is back, and it was updated in the Observer that she is not medically cleared in terms of when it was last heard. It was noted that she recently did not get clearance to come back. She did come back at Grand Slam, a huge pop. That it was a great moment, but I'm telling you, man, you know, this AEW, they go balls to the wall. They're struggling with injuries, and I'm seeing some of these insane bumps that I saw tonight that we're going to get into. And every time I saw one of these crazy bumps, I'm just thinking, man, I don't want to see Paige take anything close to these types of bumps. If, and it seems like if she is able to be cleared, which she is listed as an active member of the roster, if she is cleared to wrestle, they need to handle this with kid gloves, at least for the first couple of matches, because I just saw some scary bumps tonight and thinking to myself, man, if that's Paige and they have this philosophy doing this, even over the past couple of nights of AEW, I would be very nervous watching her compete.
It would be good if she wrestled, but honestly, if she was the GM of the women's division and roasted Tony Khan and just said, I am here to plant a flag for women's wrestling in AEW, that would be the best thing for the company. If they really gave her carte blanche to book a proper women's division with more meaningful matches, more prominent storylines, I think that's how she could be the most effectively used.
That might be something that they need. Now, AEW as a whole may not need a general manager or a commissioner on air role. Some people would argue that they do, but I think they've just been fine as a whole without one. But particularly the women's division, which I think is a big weakness of AEW, which I do not think they've done justice to that division. I think that might be something that they need. So if Saraya cannot go in terms of being medically cleared, I'd have no problem with her as a GM type figure, as the glue that holds everything together, as a conduit that they could build storylines around and build this division up. And I thought she did a good job in that role on SmackDown. I'd have no problem seeing her do that in AEW, because the more I watch, and again, this is very entertaining to see them wrestle and whatnot, but the more I watch some of these bumps that these kids take, the less I want to see Paige in the ring doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. It's very exciting. It was so funny. Now I don't believe any wrestling media, if they're dropping a story on a show day or pay-per-view day about like, oh, there were talks or there was a rumor, I'm like, you know, this shit's happening tonight and you're just trying to get ahead of it because you sat on the scoop for too long and you just need to put it out there.
That happens a lot. It's happened the last couple of times. I can't remember who the most recent return was, but that was the same thing, as well as Braun Strowman, actually, where right before he came back, it's, oh, you know, Triple H has reached out to Braun Strowman. Same thing with Karrion Kross, where there are stories that I hear that a week in advance or so, and I'm expecting to happen. So there's definitely some leaks out there that get out that people know about it and are able to leak the story.
That popped me Wednesday. I mean, I saw the story about the talks that came out Wednesday morning, but I was not expecting her to show up. I mean, that was
You know what else I think this might be? In this day and age, the leaks might be by design, in that they're just testing the waters right before they come back to see if a story like that would get them canceled. You know, if maybe a leak in a report of somebody coming back, maybe Twitter freaks out and says, I don't want Paige to come back. She said that she liked Harry Potter and that makes her a transgender or transphobic or whatnot. Who knows? Maybe somebody will say something like that. It'll spook WWE and then they won't bring them back.
Okay. I mean, there's maybe one or two names I could think that would generate that sort of reaction, but I don't think.
Well, wouldn't you think Braun would be one of those names? Honestly, like when I heard that they were talking to Braun, I heard that they were talking to Nia, and she got some smoke in terms of people not wanting her. That might have been one of those situations.
Braun's like, I mean, compared to like Wirtz or some people out there, like Braun's like your lovable QAnon believing like relative that, you know, you tolerate, but you don't necessarily want to talk about anything too in depth with him.
More somebody that maybe got influences watching maybe too much Rush Limbaugh or something, and it just he has no control over it. He's just influenced.
Yeah,
impressionable.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, I think there are some folks that would be much more controversial. Braun's like controversial adjacent. Let's just put.
Sure, there's all kinds of different spectrums, and who am I to say whether or not these people? I don't think a lot of these people are quote unquote controversial. I'm just saying, in terms of WWE being a publicly traded company, maybe it's a test run to see what's the market. What are these crazy bottom 5% wrestling fans going to freak out about? And if they don't see them freaking out, then they bring them back, because that's really all it is. It's not regular people. It's the bottom 5% that's very loud.
But But do you think like they were like, bro, we're bringing you back, and then like they waited till an hour before airtime to put pen to paper and sign the contract?
No, not at all. I think maybe they have him. They're like, hey, get ready to go, big man. We got you in Gorilla. We're going to put this. Maybe they didn't tell him, but they just put the story out
And
there.
they're like,
and
nope,
then nothing happened.
Alfred
Okay,
just,
ready to
Alfred
go.
just posted a supercut of a bunch of footage of you. We have to withdraw that offer.
We had a picture of you and Michael Richards together. Braun, I'm sorry. We're going to have to withdraw this offer. Just stay in Gorilla position and hope this blows over.
What else we got in the news?
Final news story, AEW Grand Slam, as we've been talking about. It actually did a dip in viewership, down 12%, 1.039 million. Yes, a lot of people, myself included, I think people were looking at 1.2, 1.3.
Yeah, I thought this would be one of their biggest ratings in Asia's.
Absolutely. I was ready for this to be their biggest number of the year because they did do their biggest number of the year last year leading into the pay-per-view. So common knowledge would only dictate that in this big stadium show, which I thought they did a fantastic job shooting the stadium to make it look like they were in this big venue, big crowd, 5 title matches, 1.039 million. And it's not a very, again, it's a solid number. It's good that AEW has done 1 million 5 weeks in a row. It was number one on cable. That's all good. But comparatively speaking, for Grand Slam, the biggest show of the year, a show that did almost 1.3 million last year, that is a disappointment.
Wow. Peter Bahi with the timely references. Bobby Fish looks like John Wilkes.
He really does. He could be the third vaudevillain. You don't need the Undisputed Era. Go get Aiden English back and Simon Gotch. We need a third vaudevillain.
I did love the vaudevillains.
Absolutely. They could.
And
do
Aiden
no
English was great with Miro, with Rusev.
Yeah, he was great in NXT as Aiden English when he would sing his own themes. He got over doing everything. All this guy did was get over. He was a great color commentator. I mean, what is it that he's not doing that he can't be in WWE right now?
I mean, isn't he Impact still? Maybe.
Yeah, but he was one of the people who was released. I believe he was released in 2020, but somewhere along the way he was, and I thought it was criminal.
He's one of those guys that I would just keep in my company because he's a solid dude to have around. That's like a utility player, you know.
He's a Sami Zayn type, a guy who, no matter what you ask him to do, he's going to do a better than average job, even a great job.
Yeah. Okay, SmackDown.
Let's do it.
Let's hop into the show tonight. Speaking of which, we opened with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline, and segment of the year when Sami Zayn wanted to speak.
Ooh.
After all the Bloodline spoke, Roman ordered Sammy to take off the shirt, made it seem like Sammy was being kicked out of the Bloodline, never wanted to see him wear that shirt again. Why? Because he was giving him a new shirt that said Honorary Uce, and Roman Reigns has fully embraced Sami Zayn. And it was like the end of Grease 2 when Adrian Zemed gives Michael the T-Bird jacket. I teared up, legitimate tears of happiness, being officially accepted Sami Zayn into the Bloodline. What did you think of this segment?
A legitimately heartwarming moment. I think this is such a good example. WWE usually doesn't do this well, where they're doing the fake out. They usually like doing those promos where they're going to begin like, I love everybody, and then they turn on them, and you could always see it coming from a mile away. But this was a well-done fake out in that there has been tension between Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, potentially Roman Reigns, Paul Heyman. So you would believe, especially with Kevin Owens in the rearview mirror, that Roman Reigns and Sami Zayn essentially are going to eventually split. And so they played on that. And I thought it was great that Roman Reigns did this. The crowd absolutely bought that Sami Zayn was about to get his ass kicked, and they ripped off his shirt. Jey Uso just couldn't wait to rip this guy's shirt off. So it looked like he was about to get kicked out. And I did feel bad, and I was kind of confused because Roman and Sami do such a good job together. There's still a lot of juice in that peach. And what they ended up doing is giving Sami Zayn a shirt, and I thought it was just really, it was like a Make-A-Wish kid moment, where it's Roman Reigns, the head Uce, just accepted Sami Zayn as Honorary Uce. He can now say Uce. And I thought it was a great moment. I really did think it was one of the best segments of the year. They did a great job with this.
I think Sammy is the second most over member of the Bloodline, which could end up working against him because then they will see there is money in a Sammy Roman feud, even though Roman is obviously winning. Like Sammy is so over right now.
Yeah. And down the line, I do want to see Kevin and Sammy versus the Usos. If you're looking at this timeline with the Usos, they were counting all the different reigns that people have, and they're very close to the New Day. And after they beat the New Day, which I don't think is too long away, it might be time to beat the Usos with Sammy and Kevin Owens. Potentially Sami Zayn and Solo Sikoa, because Solo loves Sammy.
I mean, that tonight was great too. Like, this is working out so well. I mean, look, I've been doing this podcast 6 years. Everybody knows major longtime Sammy Mark. One of my favorite wrestlers in the history of professional wrestling. And the fact he's gotten so over from this, and now Roman Reigns is giving him the official stamp, not just the I tolerate you, but like, you are a part of this. This was so good tonight. We talk about how wrestling doesn't have enough payoffs. It's always about what comes next. This was just like perfect.
Yes. And I will say the one flaw in this is it was maybe too perfect. There's a lot of emotion in this. And this was 100% babyface from Roman Reigns. This, I think, to a lot of people watching on TV and watching in that crowd, if I'm watching in a vacuum, this looked like a full-on babyface turn from Roman Reigns. Even though the bloodline went on to behave like heels throughout the rest of the night, this was like a heartwarming Roman Reigns, like smiling and accepting Sami Zayn, the people cheering and embracing this moment, and there was no swerve. And then they just went on to the next thing. I guarantee you people now think he's babyface, and he's supposed to be going into Saudi Arabia, this big heel against Logan Paul, who should absolutely be the heel of this feud.
I guarantee you, well, maybe someone there, they probably didn't rip this off, but I swear to God, first This Is England movie, exact same moment. Joe Gilgan does the same thing with a little kid that wants to be part of their ska-loving crew and gives them the shirt, and it's a heartwarming moment. And it was like, yeah, like, you can't see Roman tonight. And I mean, Roman was looking misty-eyed and like a proud father.
That's what I'm saying, man. There's emotion all over his face. Like, he looked like a baby face.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, with Logan Paul, like, they're screwing this. I mean, we talked about this last week. Like, I mean, this could be a great feud, but yeah, like, if Roman's gonna be babyface, like, Logan's really gotta step it up.
Yeah, they're doing this completely backwards in how they're booking it. And this, again, this angle, I have no complaints. But if you're looking at the fact that their big match they're building, and it's gonna be in Saudi, where the crowd's gonna just do whatever they want and kind of be more of a WWE friendly crowd. They're not necessarily gonna boo Logan Paul, but watching this on TV, the way that they're slotted, it's like a round peg in a square hole, especially after this segment. And let me tell you something, these honorary Oos t-shirts are going to sell because anybody could wear them and essentially be an honorary Oos. It's like a thing one, thing two type shirt where, like, you're an honorary Oos if you get this t-shirt. So they might outsell the Bloodline t-shirts. That might be how they break them up.
You know, they almost need to do, how much do you think Logan Paul tracks in Saudi Arabia?
That's a good question. I don't think a fair amount. I'm sure people know who he is. He is on the internet. His following is from the internet. So that's worldwide. That's a reach, especially if you look at his audience. You know, India is a big consumer of YouTube, and there's a lot of people around the country who primarily consume American content through YouTube and through the internet and on podcasts. So that might help him, but I don't know how big of a celebrity he's going to be received in Saudi Arabia, but the way they promoted him, I'm sure they're going to make him a big deal to that crowd.
I mean, the upper class of royalty in Saudi Arabia, if I were them with Logan, I would lean into that and show the cars, show the cribs, show the NFTs and the Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like, really lean into that, because I think that they will understand that.
I'd love to see that.
You know?
Yeah, that's what he needs to be doing.
Is. I mean, he looks like he just rolled out of bed, but that dude is like living larger than any WWE superstar.
Living larger, more money over.
Yeah, probably like he's probably up there with Vince in terms of, like, because Logan probably spends more than he saves. But
that's a little better than a lot of these guys.
Yes. But you know what I'm saying? Like, Logan Paul's got more money than Cena.
Yeah.
Peter Bahi, $5, saying I had the same reaction when Raja gave me a Wrestling Inc. t-shirt and made me an honorary Wrestling Inc. moderator.
Hey, Peter Bahi, also a friend of the show. I wonder if John Jordan felt that way when I made him a friend of the show officially this past week.
There you go. Abu Fahad saying watching us, or Abu Fahad watching us from Saudi Arabia. There you go.
Wow, hell yeah.
About how over is Logan in Saudi? Himanshu Gar saying Logan's big in Saudi, has been many exhibition events. Okay, so he's kind of known as an influencer.
Yeah. That does not surprise me at all. If you have a following that massive, it's not just in America, especially if it's online, especially if it's on YouTube. YouTube, as somebody who is a YouTube content creator and looks at all the little analytics, people watch from all over the world. And Saudi Arabia and these places are very hot spots.
I remember, like, when Ninja was on the Masked Singer, and like a lot of people were like, who? You know?
Yeah. Because and that's the thing, because that's a television viewing audience in terms of people who are watching that show. It's like a network show. It's probably a bunch of old money watching that show. And Not at all. It was funny.
Yeah.
I was at a stand-up comedy show and Trevor Wallace was on the show, and they brought him up because he has a huge following. He's one of the biggest comics based on TikTok following. So they said this guy's got he's one of the biggest comics in the world. So people were expecting like Dave Chappelle or someone, and they brought him out, and there was almost no reaction to him. And to his credit, he's a pro. He just jumped on it. It was like, you guys weren't expecting me, were you? But that's the thing. It's like, yeah, biggest comic in the world doesn't necessarily mean biggest celebrity, but biggest following. There's a lot of ways to define that.
Yes. But we have a lot of wrestling to talk about tonight, so gotta move on. Tonight we had Lacey Evans waiting in the ring for Liv Morgan, saying, Liv, you can't get extreme. You're in an Extreme Rules match. You can't get extreme. Well, Liv got extreme tonight. Beat Lacey Evans with the kendo stick, put her through a table, did that nasty bump against the guardrail where I looked like Liv got more hurt than Lacey did on that, like hitting the upper shoulders and neck. I was afraid she concussed herself. But I'm curious to see Liv versus Ronda at Extreme Rules. What did you think of this match, though?
I thought this was good on Liv Morgan. They really went into overdrive and saying whether or not she'd have that killer instinct. She did seem a little apprehensive to take that big bump through the table, but she eventually did it, and it looked good. And I think Lacey Evans might be on the wrong side of the Triple H era. She really seems like somebody who, in the Vince McMahon era, they were pretty much obsessed with. She was doing weeks of television and reintroducing herself as this honorable veteran. And then it kind of went left. And now she's in the enhancement talent role where they're not necessarily doing anything with her creatively. And I think it's a shame. I think she's a big talent. I feel the same way about Ezekiel, who may or may not come back as Elias, but Lacey Evans, with all these returns, seems to be one of the odd people out of the Triple H era.
But there you go, Ricky. Yeah, I think that that botched return, and then look, I thought the thing with Ric Flair was actually fantastically bad before she left.
You didn't want to see it through, like you didn't want to see the whole pregnancy storyline play out?
I did, but it's a morbid thing. It's kind of like, what would it be like if Sarah Palin were president? It's sort of like I want to know, but I don't know that I want to live through it, but I kind of want to see how it would play out.
I see. I think I'm in that same boat. I definitely wanted to see it play out somehow because, like you said, it was like train wreck television.
Oh, and I just wanted her to do the thing with Charlotte of like, you know, I hope one day you'll call me mom. Like they could have done so much. Like they could have done so much with that, and I'm pissed they didn't do it.
When she didn't appear in the ring after Ric Flair's retirement, I knew there was no hope. The storyline was over.
John Jordan, $2.03. Very specific. Need friend of the show T-shirts.
Oh, we really should. Maybe we should sell them for $2.03.
Yes. Hey, Static Media, don't you worry your pretty little heads. Just Alfred and I are taking care of this.
We're raking it in.
Yeah, selling a trunk in the car outside wrestling events. But no, this match was okay. I mean, good on Liv. The table spot was pretty cool. She hit that. I think she's going to lose to Ronda Rousey, but this was a good match.
Me too. I think Ronda Rousey is about to come up. We're going to be in a lot of Ronda Rousey TV time. Her and Shayna Baszler, I think, are going to be a top act coming up, and it's going to start at Extreme Rules when she beats Liv Morgan, probably with help from Shayna.
Solo Sikoa, Sami Zayn getting into it with Ricochet and Madcap Moss backstage. We had New Day versus Maximum Male Models. Very quick match with New Day getting a win.
Yeah, Maximum Male Models look like they're breaking up already, or at the very least, LA Knight is coming back because Max Dupree was not very happy. He took that jacket off. That might be a sign that more clothes are coming off, and we're going to get LA Knight on SmackDown.
Oh, I'm sure 5 people are really excited about that.
And one of them is going to be Triple H. Triple H seems like he would be a fan of LA Knight, and maybe they're going to give him a push.
What's LA Knight's gimmick? Max Dupree, Maximum Male Models. I know what that gimmick is. What was LA Knight's gimmick?
Almost The Rock. That was his gimmick. Maybe not even almost. I think that might be paying it too much compliments. He did shed that toward the end of his run. I will give him credit for that. Toward the end of his run, especially when he was working with Cameron Grimes, he seemed to come into his own, but still a lot of Rock mannerisms. One of the things I actually liked, at least the first time I saw Max Dupree, is it was nothing like that Stone Cold Steve Austin Rock wannabe character. It was his own thing. Yeah. But this looks like he's going to part ways with this. And really, they're going to be dead in the water after that if they weren't already.
He's a C-level Rock. He's the Croc. So Braun Strowman versus Otis in a shockingly competitive match.
I actually love this match. I thought it was too competitive too, but they did a great job of a big man type match where their Clash of the Titans didn't do too much, kept it short enough to where I did want to see more and didn't go crazy. They just used basic moves, and I thought the crowd seemed very taken by this match, and Braun Strowman did seem like a pretty big star. And now I will ask this. They did reinforce the ring before this match between these two big men. Is that a form of body shaming? Okay, because every day I'm hearing the goalposts get moved. Is that body shaming that you need to reinforce this ring because these two big guys are getting in the ring? How do you think that makes them feel?
I mean, I think it's practical. Like you're on an airplane and they're like, would you like a seatbelt extender? I mean, sometimes you just got to be practical, right?
Safety.
I asked for one on a roller coaster once. I was like, this is not comfortable. I would like a seatbelt extender, please.
Really? It wasn't too loose to where it made you
But they still tighten it. They still pull it tight.
Okay.
But it was just, I mean, like, because let me tell you, if you're a larger dude, especially at like Six Flags or Universal, like Disney, whatever, Disney, you're not in any danger. But you go there and they will like just jam that thing down. So you're like, I'm safe, but I can't breathe,
Right.
Yeah. No, I think, it's for safety.
Okay. As long as you felt more safe, that's all I'm worried about.
I think that's the key. Like, honestly, like if I'm on a roller coaster, like, you know what? Do what it takes. So I'm not going to come flying out Final Destination 3 style.
Yeah.
That
was a great death.
Yeah. I'll put aside my own issues, like I'll save the feeling shamed for later.
Understood.
I just want to get back to the point of departure safely. Although I think with centrifugal force, you're probably okay, even if you didn't have all the restraints. Right. For the loops, at least. I think.
Let's hope.
With my 10th grade science education. So Braun Strowman won that match. Drew McIntyre is gonna strap it on with Karrion Kross.
Whoa! Hey, yo! What's he doing now?
He's gonna do a strap match.
He's strapping
it on. Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. When is this? Is Extreme Rules, right? They're getting extreme.
They're getting extreme with the strap and the strapping.
Just one strap. Or doing two straps.
I believe it's one strap between them. Two guys, one strap.
That sounds. And don't forget about Scarlett's gonna be there too. She get a strap too?
I don't think she gets the strap. I think she'll be strapped adjacent. But tonight she threw a fireball.
That was unfortunate. It was a fireball, but it's funny because it was like Drew McIntyre was waiting for it to happen, and I don't think he saw it. And then it's like he saw that it went off, and then he reacted to it. It was very sloppy type spot. Would have looked interesting. Would have looked really cool if they would have
do it in post, do it in special effects, do it backstage.
Yeah.
Don't think live you're going to be able to pull that off. I mean, they've tried this before. People have tried, I mean, I feel like
they did it to Paul Bearer. It didn't really work out. Famously, Hulk Hogan did it to the Ultimate Warrior at Halloween Havoc in what many people consider the worst match in the history of wrestling, at least in the history of WCW. And that was a big part of it. That was the most memorable part of that match, was Hulk Hogan not being able to get the fire off.
Bill Matthews, Australian 299, that ain't PG.
Yeah, strap matches are very violent, and that's what he's talking about, right? Just strictly the violence of the strap matches.
Yes. It'll be interesting. I mean, look, I'll say this about Extreme Rules. Extreme Rules has not been very extreme in recent years. Or we have like the Extreme Rules match and that's it. I want Extreme Rules I want crazy stipulations and gimmicks for every match on the card.
Well, we've got the fight pit. That's outside the box. Maybe we'll get some blood in that match. Liv Morgan's teasing she's going to go extreme. Maybe she's going to beat the hell out of Ronda Rousey with a kendo stick. And maybe Bray Wyatt will murder somebody. And we're going to come full circle like Extreme Rules.
Yeah. It should be good. Dakota Kai versus Raquel Rodriguez. Another short match. And then Bayley tried to interfere. Shotzi ran to the ring. I mean, this was okay.
Very short. Pretty much the opposite of what they've been doing with Damage Control, where they go in there and talk for 15 minutes and leads to a match. They fit a lot into a very small time frame here with Raquel Rodriguez. Thank God she's not out there smiling anymore. She's out there angry as a giant. Shotzi is just randomly babyface, so good on her. And they made no mention of Raquel Rodriguez and Dakota Kai's dominance in NXT, friendship, storyline, none of that. But they did talk about Team Kick, and Michael Cole even brought up earlier in the night Braun Strowman's strongman background. So it's weird that they're staying away from this Raquel Rodriguez and Dakota Kai connection.
Yeah, I don't get it, man.
Of all the things that they bring up, they are now kind of a loosened Michael Cole, which I think is so much better. He's unleashed now. But this is something that they have stayed away, that I've noticed, that there have been plenty of opportunities to talk about the history between Raquel Rodriguez and Dakota Kai. They have not gone that direction.
Yeah. I'm surprised like Leah didn't come out and set up like a 3-on-3.
I think she's injured right now.
Oh, that makes sense. Yes, as Dylan's pointing out, they mentioned Heavy Machinery tonight.
There's a reference to Heavy Machinery which who remember, with all due respect to Heavy Machinery, not a lot of people remember that. Tucker and Otis.
What's up with Tucker?
I don't know. It was the poor guy. As soon as they started doing something with Otis, he just knew that he wasn't long for this company. And then they put him in this ridiculous outfit. You just knew that his days were numbered in the 24/7 division. So I hope he's doing fine wherever he is, probably on the indies.
Yeah, no, I hope so too. What happened to Bull Dempsey? Bull Fit was so over for like a week.
That was one of my favorite acts in the original NXT. I saw it live, and he was one of the most over people in that building.
I own a Bull Fit t-shirt somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
I think I bought that on clearance after it was released.
Hey, that's smart. Maybe he'll come back.
I mean, that would be Triple H pulling deep.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I could probably get some pretty good odds on that bet. I could probably win a lot of money.
Who comes back first, Bull Dempsey or Adam Rose?
I was just thinking that Bull Dempsey.
Bull Dempsey, okay.
Yeah, Adam Rose. I mean, I hope Adam Rose is doing okay.
Enzo Amore or Adam Rose?
Oh, Enzo.
Oh, really? Triple H apparently hates the guy.
Yeah, but they cannot deny that there's money in Enzo.
There really is.
You and I think there's money in Enzo. I think Enzo should go to AEW. I think Enzo,
man.
I could see Enzo showing up with Morrissey now in AEW. I think that could actually be a really interesting way to, if Morrissey turned on MJF and had Enzo in his mouthpiece, that'd be fantastic.
I love that. He'd be a great heel in AEW, and they simply don't have that anymore. They don't really have that person who's perceived as a WWE guy in AEW. A lot of times when WWE people come to AEW, people are happy to see them, and they're happy that they left WWE, but there's nobody who's that heel who represents the establishment and the anti-AEW culture. I think Enzo could slide in there and do that perfectly, and with MJF essentially a babyface now, getting all these babyface reactions. AEW is fresh out of heels, man. They don't have any real authentic heels who are going to get booed.
MJF would be against Enzo would be like on the mic. That would be so good.
Yeah, except for Sammy Guevara, who seems, because of real life circumstances, seems to be getting that type of heat. But they're very, very limited on these heels who get booed. And Sword Strickland looks like he's going to come up in that role too. John
Jordan 202, Bullfoot t-shirt 202.
Yeah, it can't be more than the friend of the show t-shirts. Those are far too valuable.
I get paid $10 for my Bullfit shirt on clearance.
Wow. At WWE shop?
Yeah. Not eligible for buy one, get one free. That's how clearance it was. I've bought a lot of stupid things on clearance. I bought my Social Outcasts shirt on clearance, WWE shop. Still got that somewhere. Did not donate that to Goodwill when I moved and packed. Let's talk about the main event, the Usos versus the Brawling Brutes for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. I mean, look, come on. Like, you knew what the outcome of this match was. You didn't even need to watch the show to know what the outcome of this match was.
Mm-hmm. This is emblematic of the Roman Reigns run, where it's just, they're not losing anytime soon because they ran this beautiful video package of the history that they're about to make. So you're like, well, they're not going to lose this match.
But looking a little less tonight.
Looked amazing. I thought he looked like a guy who maybe should challenge Roman Reigns. I was very excited seeing Butch. Butch was going crazy in there. I really liked him. That was a highlight of the match. I was kind of waiting for it to end because I knew they weren't going to lose. But Butch did a great job in there. They had some great spots.
Yeah.
Rich Holland, too. He had some strongman stuff that people really popped for.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good main event, but look, 4 hours of wrestling on a Friday is too damn long.
Yeah. And this was the second hour, but even by the end of this show, I was thinking, God damn, there's another 2 hours of this.
I know. That kind of killed the main event tonight. This was not a good night to put on a 25-minute main event.
Or if you're WWE, maybe it was, because their thing is to burn out the audience. So maybe they thought, if we put on this big, long main event, get everybody all excited, they'll be too tired to watch 2 hours of wrestling.
there's something. I mean, I think this a lot in business where I always want to be like, I'm not that smart and I'm not that stupid. Like, I mean, I wonder, is WWE just crazy enough to do that?
They are. That's why they did Worlds Collide. That's why they run towns. They just ran Seattle. Now AEW is going to do Seattle because WWE likes going to towns before AEW to burn them out. They do all kinds of things. I hear they do this thing with Fast Nationals that they want out early for whatever reason. I hear that.
I wanted the Fast Nationals the other day on the Quantum Leap reboot. I was like, where are the Fast Nationals for this?
We got to get those.
You being like, yo, do you got a source? It's an NBC Universal show.
I'll hit somebody up. We'll see.
I found out 3.5 million watched it live, but no Peacock number. It's got to be huge on Peacock. Apparently, it's like the number 5 show on the internet right now for like people talking about it and stuff.
Well, good for them, because a lot of times you see these shows get over promoted and they end up flopping fantastically. I believe there's a show with Heather Graham I used to see everywhere, and they didn't do too well. And but this Quantum Leap show looks like it's really paid off for them.
Watched it again with my wife today, and we were both like, it's not the original, but new cast is really likable. It ties into the original. Like Raj, it's funny, Raj. So we get done with the Dynamite podcast the other night, me, Raj, and Jimmy Corderas, and Raj is like, "Hey, can you stick around a moment? I want to talk to you." And I'm like, "Oh shit, it's finally happening." After 6 years, he's sick of my shit, and he was like, "I want to talk to you a sec." So the new Quantum Leap, is it any good? Because I was really a fan of the original show. I have a DVR. I don't know if I should watch it. I was like, you could have talked to me about this on the air. People wouldn't have said, like, what are you doing talking about something other than wrestling?
Yeah, I kind of be scared. I'm glad that you're still with us, though.
That's what Ross talked to me about. The new Quantum Leap. So there you go. Anyhow, moving on to Rampage.
Let's do it.
House of Black versus Darby Allin and Sting in a no DQ match opening up the show. What did you think of this?
Wild match. Absolutely wild. Sting almost killed himself. He went through 2 tables, but one of the tables he went through, he smacked his head on it, and it dented the table, didn't even break the table. I'd be shocked if he wasn't concussed. And then the worst spot of this match, they bumped poor Julia Hart, and she missed the table, and she landed right on the floor, that was one of those spots I looked at like, man, if something like that happened to Paige, I'd be terrified. And but it was a good match. They had the great Muda come in. I just thought this thing was great as always. Insane. Your typical Darby Allin match with all these bumps. Him and Brody King, although it's been overdone to this point, I think they do make magic in the ring. They've got an insane chemistry together.
I mean, we talked about this before. I've been saying this now since he first came on my radar. And I say this with like a little bit of hyperbole, but I think, people both believe it and joke about it, but also believe that like Darby Allin's going to die in the ring. And I'm like, is Darby Allin's death wish rubbing off on Sting now?
That's a good question, dude. If you saw some of these bumps Sting was taking, he was bleeding in there.
Like, dude, like what? Metallica once famously said, "My lifestyle determines my death style." And I think these guys are living that shit.
Very, very underrated Saint Anger album. I was a big fan of the garage drum type that a lot of people hated on. Saint Anger was very underrated.
It sounds like they're just in a cardboard like box or a rubber trash can. That album. Some Kind of Monster is such an amazing documentary, but I can't take that album seriously because of that documentary.
I might be the only person on the planet who considers that a great Metallica album, and I'll die on that hill.
Now, dude, the Metallica 3D movie Through the Never, like when we got the new surround system, that was like the first thing I put on Netflix to watch again. But I saw it in theaters. Like that is one of the best concert movies ever made.
Wow.
It's weird.
It'd be fun to watch in theaters, actually.
Yeah, and it was 3D. You know what's weird? I'm thinking about this. Like, there's no single act hip hop concert film. Like, there's the show, but I'm trying to think. Like, nobody ever put out like a hip hop concert film start to finish. None that are coming to mind for me, at least. No one I would recognize.
Yeah, no, because they had like Dave Chappelle's Block Party, but that was just all kinds of acts. Even if you watch the Super Bowl, they still haven't had a single hip hop act from beginning to end for a halftime show. They just had to throw all these hip hop acts on there, all of whom I think could have had their own Super Bowl halftime show. And you look at Eminem, one of the biggest artists in the world, period, not in hip hop history. He's outsold the Eagles and Mariah Carey.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was the Beastie Boys DVD where they gave everyone cameras. I shot that video where you could choose all the different angles on the DVD, but that's not like a great concert film. I mean, there's the Up in Smoke Tour DVD.
Yeah.
Which has a lot of great sets on it. But yeah, I mean, I would love to see like, man, LL or Run DMC or somebody just put out like a retrospective concert.
That'd be great.
Like big set pieces. It's probably something Kanye will do at some point in his career.
Yeah, I'm surprised he hasn't done that yet. That comes to mind. Drake could absolutely do that. Somebody with a great catalog who could just go out there for an hour, for 2 hours, and rock the crowd in 3D.
Yeah,
that'd be, because they did do Drake and Kanye where they had the free Larry Hoover concert on Apple TV, so that was pretty good. It was all right. It was a little mid, but it was all right. I'm a big fan of both.
I feel you, but yeah, Sting, Darby Allin, bad influence on Sting. That's what we're learning.
Yeah, that might be what's going on because he always insists on taking these table bumps. Listen, it's good to see, but Sting only has so many of these in him. Let's just keep it a buck. I think it's great, and I think he really knows how to pop a crowd doing that. He does not have to do these crazy bumps to do it. There's plenty of things, as we saw. Him just staring down Muda was a great moment.
Baby Ice pointing out that LL did give us Deep Blue Sea. He's already the GOAT.
Yeah.
Watch Shark Night 3D and stay through the end credits.
Shout out to Academics too. I hear they're going through some problems. LL Cool J and Academics not seeing.
Oh, I heard that. I saw that the other night. I have no clue what the story. Like you see stuff on Twitter, and it was like people were talking about like Paige's or Saraya's boyfriend who did her music, and I'm just like, do I want to know the story on all this?
That might be why they leaked the story of Saraya.
Oh,
and that might have kept them off. If the backlash against her boyfriend or her husband was any more intense, they might have said, all right, Saraya, we're going to need you to stay in gorilla position until this blows over.
I don't know, man. But Sting's like 60. How old Sting?
62, I believe.
Jesus Christ. This is where the makeup, it's like the Kiss effect. When you see Kiss out of makeup, it's like, go home, grandpa. It's like Kiss out of makeup is like Steven Tyler. And it's like, dude, I don't want to hear somebody that old singing about those topics.
So Sting is 63 years old, but I just put Sting age, and it brought up the other Sting, and it said he was 70. So I was thinking that AEW Sting was 70, and I'm thinking, he's taking bumps like that at 70 years old, and my heart skipped a beat. But no, 63. AEW Sting is 63 years old.
Do you think wrestling Sting also has tantric sex, or he just feels weird about it? He's like, people just associate, or do you think wrestling Sting knows how to play like Don't Stand So Close to Me on bass? Like he just thought at some point, like, I should learn this. It'll make people laugh. At karaoke, I'll go up, I'll sing Synchronicity.
I would love to see that. That'd be a great Super Bowl commercial. Sting singing Sting. And I definitely think he has tantric sex with a mask like that. I think he has a mask just like his face paint, but it's like an eyes wide shut type mask, and they get it on.
On Loveline once, Insane Clown Posse was talking about how they were like a little offended when the fans of the group that wanted to conquest them asked them to please keep the makeup on.
That's who they are to them. If they're fantasizing about ICP, they're not fantasizing about them without their makeup on. Absolutely not.
It's true. Interesting.
You got to keep that makeup on.
So much to unpack here, but we have limited time. So how did we never get Sting and Sting? We got every joke they could think of for like the Bo-Nose commercials in the 90s. How? Sting, like Desert Rose, was popular when WCW was at its peak. And how did nobody have the idea? There's that famous photo of them together from the 80s. But how did nobody in the mid-90s want to get Sting and Sting together for a Super Bowl commercial?
I know. I'm surprised it still hasn't happened. I want to see, at the very least, Sting play out Sting.
Yes.
That'd be because he could say, ladies and gentlemen, Grammy Award winning singer, this is Sting.
Okay.
And then you introduce Sting all over again.
Here's what we need to do. When they announce Sting is going to get his official retirement match, I think we need to start a petition. We need to go to change.org. We need to just blow up Tony Khan, and just say, look, before he retires, we need Sting to play out Sting.
Yes. I think that'd be amazing. Honest to God. I think that'd be great.
It would be.
There's all this copyright music in wrestling right now. Why not Sting? Add him to the mix. You could do Jefferson Airplane. You could do Sting.
I mean, that would be a cherry on top to the curve. But what Sting song, though? I mean, you're not going to play Every Breath You Take. That's the problem, too. It's like, you got to think about this. Like, what Sting or Police song would really...
You don't think Don't Stand Too Close to Me is good for Sting? I mean...
You know what Don't Stand So Close to Me is about? Like, that's not really like...
I'm just thinking about the vibe, but I know what is it even about? No, I've never thought about what is it about?
Really?
Is it about a guy sleeping with his? Is that one about the teacher sleeping with their student?
Yeah, it's kind of like Wingers. It's like a classier version of Wingers 17.
Okay, yeah, no, I did hear about that. Yeah. No, okay, we're not doing that one then.
We're gonna have to do a YouTube channel like Alfred Reacts, and I just explain like what songs are about to you.
You don't know what pumped up kicks are about? Every little thing she does is magic. How about that?
Oh, there we go. That can kind
You
of
want
work.
Sting to come out to that?
Wrapped around your finger. We got to figure something out. We're gonna work on this. We're gonna figure out the police song that Synchronicity is a badass song. Like, but it's a little, I don't know. We'll figure it out. We're gonna make this happen.
Oh, we will.
Has Sting the wrestler ever gone on the record about his favorite Police or Sting song? I mean, like, I don't want to hear Desert Rose, or like Set Them Free. I don't want to hear like one of those. I want something like kind of slaps.
People keep asking all these wrestlers, what's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling? I think somebody should ask Sting, what are his Mount Rushmore of Sting songs?
Okay. Everybody tweeted Sting. Let's get to the bottom. Is Sting even on Twitter? I don't know.
He just goes on a blocking spree.
Speaking of musicians, Action Bronson came out with Hook tonight, taking on Daddy Magic, Matt Menard, and Cool Hand Angelo Parker. Look, Action Bronson, I'm not throwing disrespect, but I could have done 16 bars just rhyming things with Hook. And I feel like you really didn't go there. I was disappointed by that.
Yeah, he just stuck to his material. He did the chairman's intent and got after it. I will say, though, a great debut. Celebrities, even past the grade, even if we're not grading on a curve, he looked great in there.
Yes. This was what it was.
Action Bronson is a song called Barry Horowitz, by the way, about the 90s Jewish icon of a wrestler, Barry Horowitz. One of my favorite wrestlers as a kid. I'm not even kidding. It's a shoot.
Really?
He used to pat himself on the back. He was like a jobber, but then he beat Skip and kind of became a mid-carder before flaming out, but he was great.
There you go. I'm not familiar with Action Bronson. I look at him and I just think Bubba Sparks.
Oh, I could see that, but he's actually doper than him. I've been rocking with him for a long time now. Great rapper. Excellent. Doesn't get the just due. I like him because, and a lot of people point this out, he sounds like Ghostface Killah. And Wu-Tang is one of my favorites of all time. And Ghostface is one of my favorite members of Wu-Tang. And when I first heard Action, I would always get him confused with Ghostface. And he's just good. And not only does he sound like it, he flows like him. He's got a great flow and he's a great rapper. By the way, one of my favorite things of wrestling media this past week has been seeing the culturally clueless wrestling media try to explain hip-hop to a lot of its audience. It is very entertaining in some cases in terms of between DJ Wu and Fabulous and people not knowing who Trina is. It's just been fantastic. But that's why I'm here, ladies and gentlemen. Pro Wrestling Bits, the biggest and blackest YouTube channel in wrestling.
We had to go into who Trina was the other night. I'm sure you can imagine Raj knew who Trina was. Jimmy Corderas did not really know who Trina was.
I can see that. And Jimmy's Canadian, right? I don't think they've got Trina. I don't think she twerks out there.
No, I mean, there's Rascals and Drake and like Maestro Fresh West.
Did you let Jimmy Corderas know that Trina is a whole legend out in these streets and she's a goddess and a pioneer for a lot of these? Because women rap has never been better. And you've just got one incredible rapper after another in women's rap. It was not like that. I remember a time when it was Trina and that's it.
Wait a second. Okay, first off, there was JJ Fad. Second,
okay, yeah, there's MC Light. I'm just talking
Terry
about
B,
modern. I'm talking about modern day hip hop, especially when I was coming up. Yes, there were the pioneers, and Queen Latifah and Lil Kim. Yes, absolutely. I'm just saying there was a time where it wasn't all these women's rapper at the same time. You could go to an era and it was like there was one dominant women's rapper, and she was the women's rapper for the moment. You couldn't have the City Girls and Megan Thee Stallion.
You need to go on YouTube and look up Dee Barnes and the special she came out with in the early 90s, Sisters in the Name of Rap. And it's an entire female hip hop concert headlined by Yo-Yo, who Ice Cube came out just to do the hook on You Can't Play With My Yo-Yo.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
I have heard of that. I gotta check that out.
Yeah, I watched the entire thing a couple weeks ago.
That's amazing. Is that on Paramount?
No, it's on YouTube. Someone just like bootlegged it.
Yeah.
There was a rapper also on there whose name is Nikki Nicole ! Like Nikki Nicole. And I'm like, that is the dopest name in the history of hip hop.
Fluid.
Yeah, so good. So good. No, so we went from the one tag team match to Samojo and Wardlow versus Tony Nese and Josh Woods. This is where I was kind of like, this is a 2-hour Rampage tonight. We could have made this a tight hour.
Yes, absolutely. And some of these matches went very long to where it was just like they were taking up time just for the sake of doing it.
Yeah, and this was okay. Samojo and Wardlow getting the win. Look, Wardlow's like lost his mojo, I feel like, a little bit. As yes, as Himanshu is pointing out, even Heather B is still
Heather B,
dope.
shout out to Heather B. Still dope, yes.
Fucking love Heather B.
Lil Kim is still dope. She was on a remix on Megan Thee Stallion and she snapped on that record.
I feel like female hip hop, female MCs never have gotten enough respect.
Of course not. I think they're just now starting to, especially because of how marketable they are, especially because a lot of these women have mastered TikTok and the social media generation that's so important to hip hop. So now they're just now kind of starting to get the respect. But even down to Trina, she's just being marketed as a reality TV star. This is a rapper. This is somebody who's one of the greatest, not even just female rappers. She's one of the greats.
Soft spot in my heart for Terry B, white girl that looks like Madonna.
Yeah.
It was on Comtown, on Eazy-E's label. Produced by Eazy-E, gotten some shit with Dre, did a track on the last track on her album. It is 9 minutes of her just reading off her enemies list in verse form, and it is spectacular.
All of her ops.
Oh, it's so good. It's like probably like it's not even a diss. It's just she's just dropping it like her former bandmates, Dr. Dre, like she's shouting out Jerry Heller at the end, but in a positive way because Eazy was still down with Jerry.
It was like the original 300 bars. I guarantee you that helped inspire the game.
So good. But no, I mean, female MCs going back to the real Roxanne, man. Like, if you listen to the original Roxanne's Revenge was probably the first rap song that was really on my radar. Not Roxanne, but Roxanne's Revenge, not Shantae with, not Roxanne's Revenge through Shantae, the real Roxanne, the UTFO, their authorized one. That was the first hip hop song that like blew up in the Bay Area. I was going to the Boys and Girls Club. Like, loved that when I was a kid. Still slaps. Roxanne Shante, also awesome. In fact, if you want to see something that will just like warm your heart as a hip hop fan, there was a concert video out there before Kangol Kid passed away where Kangol Kid is out there rapping his verse on Roxanne, and then Roxanne Shante is out there doing Roxanne's Revenge, like roasting it. Like, and they're hugging at the end. It is so phenomenal. Like, it's one of my favorite videos I've seen.
And I love the chat shouting out all these female rappers. Shout out to Left Eye. That's one of my favorites of all time. I'll tell you that.
Oh, absolutely. Space Cowboys would not have been the same without Left Eye.
No.
The Brat, yes. It's weird how Jermaine Dupri had like one hip hop style, and he was like, now I'm going to get Chris Cross to do it. Now I'm going to get the Brat to do it.
Just cut, copy, paste, man. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
It's true.
Yeah, Bow Wow doing it.
Yeah, Jermaine Dupri, like he really figured out how to franchise that shit early. Kind of like what Timbaland did. I mean, like think about Missy, Timbaland solo, Bubba Sparks. Like it's like I got the same beat. I'm just gonna change one thing. Now you lay some bars over it.
Gonna add an extra thicky to this one.
Oh shit, Sick Ross shouting out Boss. Okay, I'm sorry, I know we got a lot of wrestling to cover. Boss, amazing debut on AMG's album, which I'm not going to repeat the title of, but AMG, one of the best. If you think Too Short's the king of sex raps, listen to AMG. AMG is better than Too Short with sex raps.
Whoa.
Boss debuts on AMG's record. Boss comes out with that solo record, and then like is never heard from again.
Yeah, it's wild. That's sad when stuff like that happens, I think.
Yeah, Boss, so good. So
that happened to Mailman on the Chronic 2001 album, where he had this interlude on Forget About Dre, and he said, y'all bet to buy my shit, and you never saw him again. Nobody bought his shit.
Hip hop was big with that. I mean, think about how many Death Row. Think about like the Hammer album that was supposed to come out on Death Row.
Wow.
Hip hop is notorious, no pun intended, for like announcing things that never come to fruition. Remember NWA and Guns N' Roses were going to collaborate on a song. That. Yeah, like hip hop loves to announce shit that never happens. No. But Boss was like the first hardcore female rapper. Like
kind
nobody
like
was
WWE advertising Bray Wyatt, and that didn't happen.
Yes,
that's not exactly what happened. That's not fair.
But I was gonna say we gotta get back to this. But Ray Phoenix versus Jungle Boy, this was a really good match.
Excellent match. I think it went very long, but they earned all their time. That lucha style is very fun to watch if you're doing it right, and that's Jungle Boy's strength. That's something that he's very good at, that he came up doing. He's probably more comfortable doing lucha style than any other. So him working with Ray Phoenix, who for my money is the best in the world when it comes to lucha and one of the best in the world overall. I thought this was an incredible match, and I'm glad they're having Jungle Boy win. He's getting more comfortable and better in promos, but I want Ray Phoenix to level up. I know he's injury prone and there might be concerns there, but Ray Phoenix is just too good not to do something with when he's healthy.
Yeah, this was really good. Really enjoyed this. And then Christian Cage coming out after, I think just keeps that heat going. Christian looking like an adjunct professor in that outfit. Yeah, I think
nice Chelsea boots though.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens in a Luchasaurus attack from behind.
We were talking about real heels. Christian was getting some heat, so that was good to see. Christian was a big heel to this crowd.
So this is an interesting point. Sorry, I have to address this. That oh, where was it? Edward Cousins saying they found out Boss wasn't fake and she wasn't really a gangster. I do remember she was like an honor student, but here's the thing: Johnny Cash did not kill a man just to watch him die. Like, Ice Cube went to school to study architecture. Like,
good, just like 2 Chainz has 2 degrees. Like, I don't like this current generation thinks that they need to actually do these things in the rap. That's like drill rap is starting to get big, and they're now starting to push back on drill rap because it's about killing people and then actually talking about it and inciting that. You don't really actually need to do that. We're seeing too many rappers die now, like PNB Rock, who died not too far from where I live. We're seeing a lot of these crazy things happening to rappers because people think that you have to live that life. You really don't. A lot of your favorite rappers had nothing to do with the streets. They're just kind of rapping because a lot of things rhyme with the word street.
Not as many things rhyme with Trigger or Bacardi. In fact, when I'm in charge, I'm getting rid of Bacardi and Party. Is outlawed. No song can ever make that rap again.
We're outlawing those words.
Yes, it's been done to death. Yeah. Dylan Matthews pointing out Lil Kim did the Trish Stratus theme.
She did. It was lit.
Lil Kim, one of my favorite rap lyrics ever on that song with Timbaland, which I will not repeat.
The opening lyrics. Come on, let's get it.
No hard R's. It's opening the second verse. This is the most. I've never had to go back. Every time I'm like, did she really just say that?
It's incredible.
That is like the craziest fucking lyric. So really like this Eddie Kingston versus Sammy Guevara, and you know what? I bought it when Sammy was out there apologizing. They called him a fat piece of shit again.
Yeah, man, they're just leaning into these realistic storylines. That's what arguably led or reportedly led to them actually fighting legit backstage, and so now they're turning that into a storyline. Still not learning their lessons, and we got more of that by the end of this match.
Yeah, and I like maybe this is one of those cases where it's just the timing of it, but Eddie doing the mental health awareness stuff they were doing, it's like this made it feel real. And knowing what we know about the backstage, like this made it feel real. Like I'm very invested in this.
Yeah, that is why you do it. That is why you take something that's realistic and put it on your TV, is because the idea is then you feel more emotion to it. It feels more real. It's more enjoyable. And I agree with all of that. But looking at AEW and analyzing when they have done this, it's gotten your 4 biggest stars suspended because you wanted to get real, and it got so real they ended up fighting each other in the backstage, just like Sammy Guevara and Eddie Kingston fought, just like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa don't like each other. So, and we're seeing this thing with the referees now. The referees actually do suck. They book them horribly, and now they're doing a storyline on how bad their officials are, which I think is going down a very dangerous road.
I don't know if Jimmy Corderas is trying to pull a road dog and get a job in AEW, but the way he criticizes the refs, I'm just like, he might be, honestly, he could get a consulting gig out of this.
He should. Him, shout out to Jimmy Corderas, Mike Chioda, Marty Elias. It'll be in my next piece on Pro Wrestling Bits about how bad the referees are, how they're now making a storyline out of it, and how they're going to risk the credibility of the refs. But hopefully they're doing this to make the refereeing better.
See, if I were a ref, I'd make my gimmick that I can't be distracted. My eyes are on the match the whole time, and then I'm sitting there just checking my phone through the entire match, just not paying attention at all. But here's the crazy thing about the reality of this. So knowing Eddie Kingston, knowing his mental health struggles, knowing his addiction struggles, and knowing how he really did not like Sammy Guevara taking those shots at his body image, he choked Sammy out tonight, still came across like a mega baby face in this feud.
Of course. Yes, he really did. And then they reversed the decision, namely Paul Turner, who Tony Twitter Fingers himself called out and said, you got to do a better job. It's so funny because they're saying like, oh, the past 48 hours, the officiating has been bad. No, it's past 48 months. It's been this entire run. It's one of the Achilles heels in terms of all the outside interference that goes on in AEW. They don't like doing DQs, which is good, but it's at the expense of the referees. They don't do DQs because the referees aren't doing their jobs. They're not calling them. They're getting distracted. They're letting things happen that shouldn't be happening. And so now that they're doing a storyline about it, I hope it doesn't lead to the referees being worse. I hope the storyline coming out of this is the referees get much better. Maybe we will see more disqualifications now. And
maybe TK's like, you know what? We got to clean this up. I need a pro. Drake Wirtz is all elite.
Let's go. Let's control those narratives, baby. Drake Wirtz, he's coming to AEW. I think that's a payoff. I like that. Let's get Drake Wirtz up in here.
Really, again, Do I want to live in a world where that happens? No. Do I want to see what that would look like? Yes, 100%.
Does he join the Jericho Appreciation Society?
Jericho's probably like, just, I need to keep my distance, dude. And if anyone asks, like, you have not been texting with my wife.
You were at home on January 6th.
Oh, I love that the chat's talking about hip hop. So this is why the wrestling audience is the best. And I love that you're talking about hip hop that I know. It's
I saw a Raw Digga reference, man. I love Raw Digga. Busta Rhymes, my personal top 10, and I love me some Raw Digga. I love me some Spliff Star, Flip Mode Squad.
Heavy D's in the First Step Up movie. Yeah. Watching that, Kid and Play. So did you see this advertising here in Vegas? They're doing this weird like monthly hip hop old school show in Vegas. They're calling it a residency, but it's like 3 nights a month. Like JJ Fad and Naughty by Nature were playing last month.
Oh, I didn't see that. What hotel's that in?
Oh, I don't remember. I want to say it's like the Westgate. Like it's not, it's not the Cosmo that's doing this. A little like the Westgate's the one that used to be the Hilton. Like that used to be like the hotel, not anymore. But no, I think like I'll go to that now once my booster kicks in. Like, yeah, I would absolutely. I would love to see JJ Fad. Supersonic when I was a kid. Like, that was in my grade school. A group of boys in a lip sync assembly did a lip sync to Supersonic. That's how over Supersonic was.
That's amazing. I believe I have a tape, a cassette tape of JJ Fad.
Oh, so good. So Eddie Kingston won the match. Decision got reversed. Okay, so finally, Trina. Hey, look, it's like we're being topical. Trina with Diamante against Jade Cargill. After all this weak-ass build, Diamante got killed tonight by Jade. And then Trina, who was there with Diamante, aligned with Jade after, raising Hanson in the ring.
Not a good night for Diamante. And I have to say, much as I do love Trina, she did not look like she wanted to be there. She had the same expression on her face the entire segment she was there.
I mean, what else was Trina doing on a Wednesday night when this was taped?
Throws a hell of a clothesline, though.
You think she still hangs out with Trick Daddy?
I hope so. I really do. Maybe they were riding together. Trick Daddy can cook. He's had people over on his show. He's cooked now.
I pointed this out the other night. We had a year's worth of shows out of Jacksonville, Florida, and how did they not get Luther Campbell? Like, at least for, he was like 20 minutes away. He could have.
I'd have loved to see Uncle Luke. He'd be so over in Jacksonville, anywhere in Florida.
I mean, people do not understand. Like, 2 Live Crew was like a cultural revelation in hip hop in the early 90s, and every kid had that tape somehow. And
you talk about rappers rapping about sex. You put 2 Live Crew in there with Too Short.
Okay. See, AMG like legitimately is a gifted lyricist and tells stories with the songs. 2 Live Crew, we weren't listening to that because of the quality of the bar. Now, Brother Marquise is actually the best rapper in the group. Fresh Kid Ice is okay. Luther Campbell, what was the Chris Rock thing? No, I have no talent.
But he was the glue. He was like the Flavor Flav. He was the glue that held everything together.
Like Flavor Flav, if you thought he was the front man to the band. Could you imagine Public Enemy if Flavor Flav was like Luther Campbell and like just got out there?
Hey, we need at least one album like that. Come on, just to see what would happen, See and what kind of things are on Flavor Flav's mind.
And then Luke just said at a certain point, like, I don't even need people to rap. I'm just gonna shout over the records. And why did I buy all of them? Like, I've still got like In the Nude and those Luke's. I've still got like I Wanna Rock. I've got those CDs somewhere.
Hold on to them.
Yeah. Hey, it's your birthday. Always a banger. Peter Bahi can translate the song Informer by Snow. I don't know. Licky Boom Boom now.
Do Sean Paul next.
That was the weirdest one because I was dating a girl named Rebecca at the time. So when that would come on, she was like, "Did you say Jody and Rebecca?" Like, so now you like can't unhear it. I'd forgotten Pitbull started out doing Scarred and doing stuff with like Luke.
I know that.
Yeah. When they did Hip Hop Honors Dirty South, like Pitbull got up into that
because he's Mr. 305. He's out there in Miami.
Yeah. Other thing I liked about Luther Campbell and Two Live Crew is they do the clean version and the dirty version, and they could not be more different than one another.
No, they're essentially different songs. That's a lot how Eminem was because he was such a big commercial artist, but his songs were filthy. So when you would hear "My Name Is" like the dirty version, it's a completely different song.
Yeah, something. But no, it was good to see Trina tonight. Poor Diamante. Poor anyone that goes up against Jade Cargill. Like this is not. Jade Cargill is like your ticket to irrelevance. Like you are going to get beaten by her, and then where do you go from there?
And that's a shame. It's a subplot of the whole women's division and how they've struggled there. It needs to be to where it's around now the time that I think you can build up challengers who people could see as beating Jade Cargill. She's had that belt for a long time. I don't want to see her lose it anytime soon, but AEW is completely punting on creating any type of viable challengers. They're doing everything backstage and they're making it look like dorks. So I think they really need to start building up challengers.
Vulture Talk saying big opportunity missed with Uncle Luke and the baddies.
Yeah, I don't know if they want Uncle Luke coming around the baddies, but that'd be dope.
If you go on Paramount Plus, there's a UMTV Raps episode where they went down to like visit Two Live Crew, but they're not in Miami or like they're on tour somewhere, like a budget inns sitting by like a broken down pool, and there's some girls hanging out with them, and Fab Five Freddy, or no, it was Dre and Ed Lover, and they do not let Luke or Two Live Crew talk the entire time. Like, and it's just like the most busted looking hotel, but it absolutely seems like that's the type of life Two Live Crew is living on tour.
That seems difficult to not let Two Live Crew get a word in, particularly Uncle Luke.
People were afraid. I mean, think about the people were like afraid of Two Live Crew back then. But yeah, with Jade, I mean, Jade's super over, but here's the problem. If you don't give Jade better competition, I mean, God fucking help us if Saraya gets in a feud with Jade Cargill.
Yeah, they're gonna have to keep that match very basic in terms of what they can do. I wouldn't even be comfortable seeing her take the Jade finisher.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. They have the talent, they have the pieces to build somebody up. It doesn't have to just be Britt Baker. You've got people that Jamie Hayter is somebody who there is a movement around Jamie Hayter that people wanted Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker to break up. There was a little bit of an outrage when they didn't. And I think Jamie Hayter is somebody that they could build up for Jade Cargill, and people would believe and want her to beat Jade Cargill. I'm not one of those people, but people would.
Tony Khan takes the title off Britt Baker. Thunder Rosa's the champion. Britt still gets put over. Thunder Rosa gets back. This is like you break up with someone, you marry someone else, and you're just texting your ex all the time.
Yeah.
Like, so disrespectful of Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, he's got to expand his horizons. He's got to be more like an F-boy, not a simp. Be an F-boy. Give all these women a chance.
The Golden Ticket Battle Royal. Not the main event. I feel like we saw it. Was this the first time Dalton Castle was on AEW television?
No, he was on Battle of the Belts in the ROH title match against Jonathan Gresham. And boy, I think his pants have been hiked up even more since then.
I feel like 3 years ago, Dalton Castle could have been the biggest thing in professional wrestling if he would have left Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and then he did get hurt, and he suffered with a really serious back injury, and then things started getting away, and he wasn't able to train as hard. But I agree with you. I actually saw him live when he was at his peak of his powers with the boys. People went crazy for that act. He was incredible. His charisma just put all the energy in the room, and it was just a shame to see how that turned out in terms of that. Hopefully he's able to rebound, but they'll need to do something with ROH first.
Yeah. This was good. There were some good spots in this. It was fun, but this is the problem with having it be taped. Like Hangman Adam Page winning and getting that future title shot. There was no suspense. It was just kind of like I'm going to sit back, enjoy the ride, enjoy some of the spots. But yeah, we knew how this was ending.
Yeah, especially when he went out first and they all beat him up. You knew he was going to be a focal point. And then once I saw the field, it's like, what, Brian Cage versus John Moxley? Respect to Brian Cage, who has been off TV, so this is officially his return. But I'm just looking at this ring like none of these guys are going to face John. Maybe Lance Archer, but I guess Hangman Adam Page versus John Moxley, that could be fun.
Yeah, you can't do... Tony Khan is good at surprises. You can't do surprises on a pre-tape show.
Right. Unless you have some vignette that you haven't shown the streets, but there's really nothing. I think people were expecting Captain Insano to come out. That didn't happen. Although Big Show was on commentary.
Yeah. Yeah, we did get that. Oh, and we didn't talk about it either, but we did get again though. We had this before the Great Muta coming out after the Sting and Darby Allin match, hugging Sting, like that was good. But we knew about
No, we
it.
talked about that. Yeah, but just Great Muta facing off with Sting. He kind of teased he was going to do something to Sting, and then he turned and went against Buddy Matthews, and then him and Sting reunited.
Okay, so here's the question. On a night of 4 hours of wrestling, where we saw a fantastic segment of the year contender opener of Sami Zayn being officially made part of the bloodline by Roman Reigns, how do you think this book ended with the way the night ended with Ricky Starks versus Powerhouse Hobbs in a lights out match?
A little mid. I'm a fan of this feud. I'm a fan of both guys. I think they were hosed in their pay-per-view match, which should have been Ricky Starks' moment, but they did a good job. They worked hard. It's just something that good to see the main event. Good to see them even main event on Rampage. But I think this feud lost something when they did that quick match like that. But it did make up for it. This should have been, I think, their pay-per-view match. I thought this was a good match.
And note tonight, they did this weird thing where they stopped the show and restarted the show at the hour. So it will be rated as 2 separate hours.
Yeah.
How much drop off hour 2 do you think there is versus hour 1?
I think they did a good job of that because people could have thought that they were going off of the air and they immediately just went blank for a little bit and then came back.
Sounds like a split
I'll
second.
be interested to see because Christian was on there and he's a relatively big star. I don't know how much of a needle mover he is, but they were about to go into a segment with him and Jungle Boy, which is one of their big storylines. So we'll see. I don't think it's going to be a huge drop off.
Okay.
I think they're actually going to do a pretty good number for this show, considering they were able to build an audience for 2 hours. Not going to hear from me tomorrow on Fast National Saturday. I'm going to have that day off, but I think they might have done just fine. Maybe 500,000 even. I'm thinking they're going to do in the 520,000 range.
See, this was a good match. It was a long night of wrestling, man.
Yeah,
this has felt like the closer, not the headliner.
Yes. It felt like the end. It was just 4 hours. Admittedly, there was a 10-minute chunk where I didn't fall asleep and just kind of watching the clock, waiting for this 4 hours to be over so I could see my friend Glenn. But it was fine. We got through it. I thought it was a good 2 shows, just back to back, 4 hours. It was very long. I felt all 4 of those hours.
Okay, so here's my thought on this. I do not want to watch a 2-hour pre-taped wrestling show ever. If it's live, fine. But 2 hours pre-taped, you like an hour, you can only say, well, it's a really tight hour.
For me, I think it just depends on what happened. If it's pre-taped and I hear something crazy happen, then there will be that anticipation. Like, man, I heard that John Moxley dropped the belt.
Why don't you just make it an hour and like do it in the hour pre-taped?
I agree. I like that much more.
Because you can edit it. That's the other thing. You could shoot 2 hours, edit it down to a tight 1 hour.
That's what they really should have done. Some of these matches did go on to where they could have edited some stuff out. But this is Grand Slam. They wanted to get everybody on the show.
I know.
It's kind of like their TV WrestleMania. So maybe they just wanted to get as many people on the show and feature them as possible.
Yeah. Overall, though, a good but lengthy night.
Very long night. Kind of crazy they couldn't get FTR on either of these shows, but now they're getting rid of the rankings. Like FTR is getting the short end of the stick here. And now the Acclaimed is getting hot. Doesn't look like they're getting those AEW tag team titles anytime soon. And I don't think they should.
You think FTR goes back to WWE?
Absolutely not. I think they're one of the guys who do not like WWE, are very pissed at how they were done dirty. They have made themselves big enough stars to where a Triple H, a Papa H, who was a big supporter of theirs in NXT when they were the biggest stars they were, I could see them going back under those circumstances. They're boys with Randy Orton. I could see them wanting to reunite with him. So let's not completely rule that out, but they do seem like they're very happy in AEW.
I don't think they ever need to be AEW tag team champions again. Like there's so many belts. They've got so many belts. Like you could just tell people they were champions, or people just still think they're champion.
It's the same thing essentially with them carrying around all those belts.
Yeah.
There's always going to be the feeling that you want to see them capture those titles. It's not something that needs to happen anytime soon.
Yeah. And Bobby Fish was on Impact tonight, looking like John Wilkes Booth.
Shout out to Bobby Fish out here creating all these headlines. Bobby Fish is out here wild, and good for him. He's a great self-promoter, man. He's been in the news a lot for one reason or another, whether or not he's calling out CM Punk or trying to get his boys back to WWE. He's the ultimate disruptor. Is this the most over Bobby Fish has ever been in his career?
No, when Riddle did the how much could Bobby Fish
right.
fish if Bobby Fish could fish, that's the most over Bobby Fish has ever been.
Riddle did get him over more than this, but I will say, every time I look at a headline, Bobby Fish is right there wanting smoke with somebody. I like this Bobby Fish. If he comes back to WWE, this should be his character. Just starting shit backstage, trying to get people to leave the company and go to Jacksonville. This should be his character.
That would be a good character where he's backstage. He's like, so let me ask you, when's your contract up? So are you happy?
You know, whenever they do these storylines, which they always do when they're about to turn somebody heel, when they're frustrated and they keep losing, you just pan out and Bobby Fish is sitting there like, hey, man, I know how you feel. Jacksonville's just a phone call away. I know a guy.
Be like, hey, you like football? I can get you tickets.
What do you think about Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, you know. Well, there you have it, folks. We made it. We made it through.
We made that a lot more fun than it really was. But good night of television. Not a great night of television. Good night of television.
Good night of television. Okay, so Issa, we hope you are well. You'll hopefully be back Tuesday. And everybody have a good weekend. Alfred, so good to spend time with you. Good to talk hip hop and wrestling.
Always.
Very good time. You know, I was Facebook friends with Jerry Heller before he died.
Oh, really? That's amazing.
I saw Jerry Heller was on Facebook. I just added him. We never interacted, but I regret not interacting because he did a bunch of random ass podcasts and radio shows in old age. And he had no filter.
Wow.
You know, and to his dying day, he was like, No Vaseline is a good song, but I don't appreciate the personal anti-Semitic shots at me.
Oh, yeah. I wouldn't be very happy with No Vaseline if I was Jerry Heller, but it should slap for me. I thought it was a great song. But
I mean, No Vaseline is so good. That song could have been about me, and I'd be like, yeah, but still a really good song.
Yeah. But those bars, though, I mean, he did say some messed up stuff.
He did, yes.
But those bars?
I'm going to watch Straight Outta Compton again. I love that movie.
They did a great job. They did great justice to that. I love that movie.
Did you watch Surviving Compton, the Michelle A movie?
I saw that. Actually, I saw it before I saw Straight Outta Compton.
Really?
Yeah, I think it came out before. Didn't it come out just before?
Oh, I thought maybe. Yeah, maybe. I've got it downloaded. I just never watched it.
Yeah, it's good. It kind of, again, it's going to put a taint. There's always a dark side to all these stories, but I'm just a big fan of that era of hip hop. So I just wanted to know as much as possible. But it's a really good documentary. Okay. If you could stomach it.
I'll have to check it out. Love Me Good looks back at classic hip hop. Nice D is also an underrated song.
Okay.
As is No More Lies.
Yeah.
Like Michelle A, because her speaking voice, she sounds like Hooks from Police Academy, but then she growls when she sings like she's Johnny Gill. People don't know about Michelle A. Michelle A, that's a wrestling gimmick. Could you imagine? I mean, that's like some real life She-Hulk shit.
Yeah.
If you've got a wrestler that talks like that and then the ring is just raw, that would actually be.
It's kind of amazing, actually. I like that.
That's what Liv Morgan's gimmick should be now.
It seems like that's what they're going with Saraya, but she's just a kind of a dainty schoolgirl, doesn't necessarily sound different, but she does transform with some smoke.
Yes.
Maybe if you smoke weed around Michelle A, she transforms.
Maybe that's what it is. Okay, everyone, have a good weekend. We'll catch you back here next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast. Take care and have a good one.